I'm Huw Dixon. I'm a professor of economics at Cardiff Business School, which is part of Cardiff University in the United Kingdom.
When did you first consider yourself to be a teacher of economics or an economist?
Well, right from the beginning, really. I studied philosophy and economics, and I very much enjoyed philosophy, but I decided that philosophy never really comes to a conclusion. You just argue round and round and round, and it's fun to do that, but I'd done it for 3 years, so I didn't want to do any more. I got more interested in economics, so I decided after my undergraduate degree I specialised in economics because I liked building models and using them to try to understand the world.
Do you think your philosophy background had a huge influence in your way of thinking as an economist?
Yeah, it did have an influence, certainly, so that I was interested. So I wrote an article once on equilibrium in economics. It's become quite popular now, I think sometimes I think about things in a slightly different way than regular economists do. Many of them just come from engineering backgrounds and so on, and never really think about what things mean. So I do think about that, but because other people in my profession don't tend to think about it, I don't think about it too much. There's not a big reward to doing it, but it still has influenced me. For example, I do work on bounded rationality and things like that, and I suspect that's probably because of my philosophy background.
Do you have any particular economist that inspires you, or a favorite Nobel Prize?
Well, there are quite a few really that influence me have influenced me in different ways. But I always go back actually to somebody who's rather forgotten now. He was quite a big guy in the 50s and 60s, Herbert Simon. I think he might have got a Nobel Prize. I can't remember. But he's not just an economist. He introduced ideas of bounded rationality and satisficing and so on. But they've had a wide influence beyond economics, like psychology and other subjects as well. So he's somebody who's sort of largely forgotten by economists nowadays, unless they're old like me. But he was certainly a big influence on me when I was younger, and he's influenced. That's given rise to some papers that I've written. One of my best papers, really, that I've written, has his imprint.
What is that paper?
It's a paper called "Keeping Up with the Joneses." It's a model of bounded rationality and learning in the context of a game. So the game, it's a very abstract game. It could be any game you can see with a matrix. For example, the Prisoner's Dilemma game. And what I show there is that if agents learning satisfies certain criteria, then you always end up with cooperation. And I can just explain what the criteria are. Firstly, you compare your current payoff with what the average payoff is in the economy. And then if you're earning above average, you satisfice, you just don't do anything, you just keep on doing what you're doing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if you're doing as well as the average, you just stay put. But if you're below average, then you do something about it. You switch to some other strategy. It's a very, very simple rule. And we can think there of the average payoff as representing the force of the capital market on firms. If you're not earning normal profits, your shareholders are going to want to do something to managers and so on. So that's the idea. And under a very wide set of assumptions, that behaviour gives rise to collusion. That agents choose the joint profit maximising strategy, not through direct collusion, but just the strategy which maximises the joint payoff. So, for example, oligopolists would choose the joint profit maximising strategy under a very general. I think it combines some ideas, as I say, satisficing from Simon, the ideas from Armin Alkin, another economist, who he may still be alive. I don't know. He's very old now, but he had this idea of survival. Firms only survive when they earn above average profits. So I think that's a nice paper.
Well, do you see yourself more as a teacher or a researcher?
More as a researcher, simply because of the way that the profession in the United Kingdom has been set up. So universities tend to promote you on the basis of your research, not your teaching. That's still the case, although it may be changing now that students are paying more money to come to university in the United Kingdom. There may be a shift in focus towards teaching, putting more effort to teaching students. But certainly, throughout most of my career, the incentives have all been to put your research as the most important thing. That doesn't mean you're a bad teacher. I like teaching, but it's simply a matter of how you allocate your effort between teaching and research. So I have tended to focus more on my research than on the teaching side of things.
Do you have any particular method of doing research? Do you have a ritual when you start a paper, when you're doing a paper?
Oh, a ritual? Well, no, it's not like sports. I don't have a rabbit's foot or anything. Basically, if you're doing a job, you're spending quite a lot of time doing it, so you want to do something you enjoy. So basically, I tend to look at things that I find interesting. And the interest usually comes from the fact that I think other people have got something wrong, and so I want to do it right. That's one thing. Or two, just I have a vision and I want to do a model which reflects that vision. So it tends to be those sorts of things which drive my research, because I don't really see any point doing research that you don't enjoy doing, just for the sake of doing it, publishing papers. And so, I mean, I don't see the purpose of economics as just publishing papers. There's got to be something interesting there to keep me entertained.